So welcome everybody, and welcome to Dan. We've got Dan and I presenting this morning. How are you doing this morning, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
Good. And what you've been up to over the last couple of days?
Well, not much really, to be honest. I thought I'd have a nice weekend for a change. Did a bit of painting, getting quite talented at that now. And then we've started watching Black Mirror again for about the fifth time. So getting very spooked about that as well. So that's good.
Oh, nice. We should definitely share some Netflix recommendations in the chat box, I think, this morning.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good shout. I was thinking about starting a channel on the Slack group of this kind of stuff, because that's something that gets everyone talking, isn't it? So.
Well, I didn't realise there's a second series now of Afterlife. Has anyone seen the second series?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we watched it on Friday night after booking New York, and that was probably we binge watched it, and it was probably the worst thing we could do because we just spent 3 hours just going through pain. It is really, really sad.
We don't need any more of that at the moment.
Yeah. So coming up today, we have Chris Budd with a financial wellbeing thought for the day. So good morning, Chris. We've got Morwenna Tyler from Swansea University, and she's here to talk to us about our first ever virtual boot camp for undergraduates. And Catherine, yourself, will be looking at another great coaching question in Coaching Focus. Now, we were supposed to have, as we mentioned yesterday, we were supposed to have Tamsin Kane from Smart Divorce to talk about the impact of lockdown on clients who are going through that divorce process at the moment. But unfortunately, Tamsin's a little bit under the weather today, so we would all like to wish Tamsin to get well soon, very soon. But we're delighted to announce that we've got divorce specialist Fiona Sharp instead from Verve Financial Planning. So she stepped in a very, very short notice, and she'll be answering the questions on this important topic. But first, we've got Jack from New Model Advisor. Good morning, Jack. What do we have on the news today?
Morning, Dan. Thanks for the intro. So the news this morning, sorry, Kat's just joined me. So the news this morning, we've got, we'll start quickly with markets very briefly. Very flat. I think they're down, they're slightly up 0.039%, very slightly up this morning, but they did have a very good day yesterday. I think they were finished about 1.6% up the FTSE. So strong day yesterday. And first piece we're putting out this morning is a comment piece from EQ Investors. They are a digital wealth manager, and they're basically saying that the recovery we've seen in the last 3 weeks, when kind of major indices were up about 15 to 20%, they are not confident that that is going to last, and they basically have taken the active decision to take quite a lot of risk off the table and move to defensive positions and cut down equity holdings and replace them for fixed income and cash. And they kind of say that they're worried about the possible scenarios, but they're also worried that the dramatic recovery we've seen in the last kind of few weeks is not going to last, and that there could be markets will start to respond negatively as we move later into the year. And then next up, the next story we've got this morning, we're putting out, which I'm sure will interest you more than markets, is actually about St James's Place. It's a small advice firm. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of them before. Essentially, they put out their annual report the other day, and we had a little delve into it yesterday. And a bit of clickbait, I'm sure you can appreciate, but we looked at their executive payouts for 2019, and what this has shown is that the chief executive, Andrew Croft, who took over in 2018, his pay packet fell by 18% to a measly 1.5 million. Obviously, this is before coronavirus kicked in, so that's probably going to have a big effect for 2020. But his bonus was down, his pay package was down, as was other senior executives. And there was a small footnote in the reports which talked about the kind of media criticism which SJP faced last year. Obviously, there was a huge amount of kind of news. The Sunday Times really went at them over the advisor bonus and cruises, etc. And they kind of made reference to that when announcing that their pay of the senior executives was down about 15% across the board. So I guess that's kind of, I would also say that I think their pay is actually quite a lot lower than other similar companies. I think they other kind of big insurers and big asset managers have much bigger pay for their senior executives. And yeah, and that's pretty much the main news we're putting out this morning. So thank you very much.
I'm sure that'll get a lot of views anyways, to be honest. Whenever there's those 3 letters in the same sequence, people always seem to jump on that, don't they? So, what are you guys looking out for today in terms of
what we're looking out for today? We've got quite a lot of videos and things to put out. Will has done a future advice series, which I think features Rohan. I should know this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rohan, you are in that. I don't know where you've seen me, but we're putting out some of those videos. I did a podcast with the Standard Life savings boss the other day, so putting that out. So watch out for videos and podcasts from us. Yeah, that's much.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks very much, Catherine.
I love how everyone's continuing to chat about Netflix rather than SJP. It's brilliant. So good morning to Chris. Chris, good morning this morning. Chris has got his Wellbeing thought of the day, which is brought to us by the Initiative of Financial Wellbeing. So Chris, what have you got for us this morning?
Good morning, Catherine. Morning, Dan. Morning, everybody. So today at 10 o'clock, Neil Bage and I start our webinar series on coaching client behaviours. He identifies, over the 3 webinars, he identifies 10 main behaviours that lead to clients making poor decisions with their money. And then we look at what to do about them. Advisors are very well trained to ask the client what they want and then provide a plan that gives it to them. But the trouble is clients often don't know what they want. And when they do, they're often wrong. We had a little run through yesterday, and some of Neil's stuff is absolutely amazing. And we are hardwired to make bad decisions about money. And the way the brain works means that we will make bad decisions about money. Now, personally, I don't conclude from this that we should be controlling how clients behave. The danger can be that when we tell people what to do, it's based upon what we would do rather than what the client should do. So I think we then have another step to go, some more work to do. We need to help clients to understand themselves better, and in the process, we will understand themselves better by the use of good listening and questioning skills. And only then, when you've got real clarity over their values, can you map their behaviour against their values. So you've got another layer to go down, I think, before you can start telling people, look, your behaviour is not cognizant with how you want to behave with your values, etc. So we map their behaviours against their values. I've got a really good example for this right at the moment, which I'll tell you about tomorrow.
Oh, leave us hanging on the edge of that cliffhanger, Chris. What's really interesting for me as well is what you were saying, because often our own values actually influence our clients, even though we don't mean them to. The way that we feel and the way that we view money does have a direct correlation to our clients. So that will be really interesting, Chris, so that advisors can think about what their own values are and then think about, is that having an impact on their clients?
Yeah, and even just in your body language, even our social norms are to look at people and go, really? And you're telling somebody, yes, what you're saying is right. You're giving them confirmation of what they're saying. It's so hard to be completely neutral in a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. That was really interesting. Thank you. And so next we have our interview of the day with Fiona, the wonderful Fiona Sharp. Thank you, Fiona, for stepping in at the last minute after Tasmin was poorly last night. So if you'd like to unmute yourself, a very warm welcome this morning. So Fiona, you've chosen to specialise in offering financial advice to people who are going through a divorce. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided upon that as a niche for yourself and the journey that you've taken to design your sort of business proposition?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I chose it. I think it chose me, as with all of these things. I think it was circumstance, really. About 20 years ago, myself and 3 other female IFAs, we set up in Cambridge, and we were the only female advisors in Cambridge. And so we decided to make a big splash about it and do lots of PR. And we did get a trickle of mainly women, because our name was at the time Finance for Women. So we did have a trickle of mainly women coming through with divorce queries. And then, of course, we started to delve below. Pension sharing had just started to come into the equation. And we started learning about that, and then started to realize actually how complicated divorce work was, because on the face of it, you know, it seems, well, somebody, you know, people want to split their money up, how hard can it be? And then we realized that actually it was quite difficult and quite tricky, and that you needed to know quite a lot of legislation. So we spent quite a bit of time studying statutory instruments, studying the law, studying the Welfare Reform and Pensions Act, which at the time was quite new, which of course ancient history now. And we spent a lot of time trying to meet lawyers for coffee, banging on doors, taking them out for a drink. But we found that the best way to do it actually was to organise seminars and to get bums on seats 8:30 in the morning before the working day had started, and just talk about things that were topical at the time. And so slowly we built a reputation for knowing about divorce, being able to help, but it took a few years, to be honest. It took about 5 years. So that's sort of how I did it, but it was tough.
I bet, and I bet there's a lot of emotion mixed up in that conversation, as well as the legal kind of side of things. And actually that led you then, Fiona, to go down the whole resolution accreditation route, and you're a chartered financial planner and a resolution accredited. I've heard that the resolution accreditation is a little bit vigorous. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of becoming Resolute accredited and what you've learned from it so far?
Yeah, sure. I first became accredited in 2006 in the first round. Since then, it's evolved quite a lot, and the accreditation now mirrors the lawyers specialist accreditation. So it is quite involved. There is a core paper, which is the starting point, which covers all aspects of divorce. So it's not just financial planning, it's the legal side of things, because we need to know that. And it also covers interdisciplinary work, so having a team around you, because I recognise that I don't know anything about parenting plans. I have no kids. I've got a dog. I don't know anything about that sort of stuff. So I need to have somebody in my team that can do that with me or for me or with the client. So it's all about interdisciplinary working, language, managing emotion. So it's very, very different to the route to chartered. And the hardest thing about it, I think, is there is no manual. So we have to rely on, legal tomes like this one, pensions and divorce, or this one, unlocking matrimonial assets on divorce. That's a page turner. If anybody's really bored, or suffering from insomnia, that'll definitely send you off. But also on my desk, I have a whole file of statutory instruments. God, I'm dull. I'm really dull. Even my husband says I'm dull. And so the core paper covers all of those things. And then there is a specialist pensions paper, a specialist cash flow paper, because cash flow can form quite a fundamental part of divorce work, as in all financial planning. And then there's a taxation paper as well. So it is quite tough, but it is a benchmark for excellence. So.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And Rohan's just put in the comments actually that he's put, am I right in remembering that there's only about 27 Resolute accredited IFAs in the UK?
No, we have more now. I think we're up to about 40 odd. But we ran a divorce seminar last year, and as a result of that, lots more people applied and passed. And we were planning on doing that in May, but now it's been put back to hopefully October. because we recognise that, you know, this accreditation runs, but there isn't a lot of training out there for financial planners. There used to be, but also the problem is that all of us who run the accreditation and who write the exams are doing the work as well, and it's really hard to find the time to, you know, write a manual or but what I would say is that we all are there to mentor people, and I'm more than happy to help people if they've got divorce queries or clients that they don't know what to do or how to start or how to work with a lawyer. More than happy to help out if anybody would like it.
Thank you, that's very kind. And I know that you helped me last year with one of my cases, which I was eternally grateful for. So she does as she says. Now, Fiona, you've helped many people during some of the most stressful times in their life, obviously divorce being a very stressful time. How are you finding the lockdown is impacting on people who are going through either separation or divorce?
Well, it is quite tough, particularly if people are having to live in the same house and can't escape, and now maybe can't afford to escape because they have they don't have a dual income anymore. One of them has been furloughed, and I'm sure you've seen in the press that the rates of domestic violence are on the increase, and that is a big worry. So I know most of the lawyers that I work with, and in the phone calls that I've had, I'm not taking on any new face-to-face work at the moment, but in the phone calls I've had, I've been quite careful to check whether I think anybody is at risk. And again, it's down to having a safeguarding system in place and a list of people who you can call in confidence and information that you can pass on. And you know, again, if anybody needs help in how to do that and who they might approach, I'm happy to help people put together a network.
Great, thank you, Fiona. And the final question that we're asking all of our guests is, what are you looking forward to doing first when we get finally released from this lockdown?
Well, I've thought about this long and hard, and it's a sad answer, but I've got to take my dog to the clippers because she looks really uncomfortable. It's not very exciting, but she's really grumpy.
I'm sure we'll all be dashing to the hairdressers, actually. One of the first things we'll all be doing. Thank you so much, Fiona, for your time this morning, and thank you for your pearls of wisdom this morning. Dan, we're going to come over to you next. What do we have coming up next?
Yeah, thanks Fiona. I think everyone will be going, like you said, everyone will be going for a quick clip after this anyways, won't they? So yeah, I certainly will. Next we have Morwenna Tyler from Swansea University. Good morning, Morwenna.
Hi.
She's unmuted herself as well. She knows this scale very well. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. Okay, so for everyone, just to explain what Morwenna does, she's the Careers Liaison Officer. I think I've got it right. Is it officer? At Swansea University. So if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do there, and also about the financial based courses that the university provides as well, because that's quite rare nowadays, I think, isn't it? So
yeah. Hi everyone, thanks for having me here today. So I work in Swansea University. I'm particularly based in the School of Management. So I work closely with the economics students, accounting and finance, and business. That's sort of on the undergrad side. And then obviously we have all the MSCs. So we've got investment management, finance, big data analytics, investments and assets, equities and bonds, strategic marketing. So quite a breadth. So it's generally just those students that I deal with, but we do also kind of see the odd computer science and engineering student kind of fit into our office too. We give kind of, I guess, the general careers advice that you expect careers advisors to give. So we help students with their CVs, their cover letters, things like that. And there's been quite a shift recently to try and integrate that as much as possible within the curriculum. So that it's not then a decision for students to choose to do those things. It's kind of part of their course. It's not an add-on that they have to make time for. So we also run modules for the students, which again kind of works on their CV, their cover letters. We give them all a one-to-one mock interview with a business, or we did prior to the craziness. They're now doing kind of computer simulated online interviews. So we have managed to adapt. And they also kind of attend networking events so that they have the opportunity to work on their professionalism and meet people kind of within the business sector. And then other things that we do is kind of practical, kind of giving them the opportunity to get involved in things that line up with their interests. So we do a lot of work with the PFS and the CISI in terms of kind of opening up opportunities for students to go to their conferences, to their local events. And that's always really popular with students. You know, they like the opportunity to kind of get out and about and have some FaceTime. I can see Gretchen there. Gretchen's done loads with us. Yeah, has been really kind of supportive in terms of allowing students to get that face-to-face time with businesses and kind of get that knowledge about what you guys are all kind of talking about, I suppose, in the industry. So those are kind of the main things that I do.
And kind of on that basis, I mean, on the 4th of May, we've got our first ever virtual boot camp with you guys. And you have quite a few students taking part in that as well. What have they been doing to prepare for this? I'm going to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, I think we're going to actually end up with about 19 or 20 students that are going to be taking part. They're all third years and master's level students, so they're all kind of approaching the end, looking for kind of what the next step is. So they've been busy, I suppose, firstly trying to get to grips with the new format of everything. When we originally discussed with Adam holding the session, it was going to be a face-to-face session, and obviously that's changed rapidly. So Adam kindly delivered a session for them on Friday, kind of making them think about how they come across virtually, digitally, kind of talking them through about what equipment they have. It is quite tricky because obviously it's not a level playing field in terms of the equipment that students have at home. Some of them are having to kind of balance their phones on boxes and kind of get the right angle, and then others obviously have a bit more equipment. You know, they're lucky that they have a PC or a laptop, but just really trying to get them to think about that eye contact, how they come along. I had one student that told me that he'd been setting up Skype calls with his family and kind of putting them into breakout rooms and practicing, taking his turn to speak. So just that kind of thing, I suppose, getting to grips with how it's going to work virtually. They're all working on their presentations as well. They have to deliver a 3-minute presentation. So a lot of them have kind of been thinking through how they're going to do that. And then hopefully doing lots of research into the sector as well.
Cool. Good. Thanks for sharing that. And of course, the final question that we ask everyone who comes on this show: what are you most looking forward to after lockdown is released?
Oh, it's a bit cliche, but obviously meeting up with all my family, and helping my children, I suppose, meet up with their friends because they're missing them hugely. And we were in the middle of moving, so I'm looking forward to moving and getting rid of all these boxes that are slowly getting unpacked again. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much, Fiona. Thanks for that. And just so everyone on the call knows as well, we still have places available for employees to attend the virtual bootcamp on the 4th of May. It takes place via Zoom between 10 a.m. and noon on the 4th of May, and you'll get a chance to meet the students and see them put through the paces, so things like these TED Talks, presentations, stuff like that. So if you're looking to recruit a graduate later in the year, you can get in touch with us either via Slack, or you can just email admin@nextgenplanners.co.uk. But thanks very much for that, Moana. So now it's time to go over to Catherine for Coaching Focus. Catherine?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment this morning, actually, rather than a question, but it's got a question at the end for you to think about. So often, actually, what Chris was talking about is how we our perception of things and how the brain kind of functions and how we filter through literally billions of pieces of information every single day. We filter through all of that, and that filters all the way through our subconscious belief system. And then it's what sits in our subconscious belief system that then interprets what meaning we place on an event. So I just want to do a little experiment with you, and this is all really to get you to think about perception and how we think about things. So I want you just to take your finger in the air, a bit like E.T. this morning, and I want you to make a clockwise circle in the air above your head. So if you just literally just start making a circle and look towards your finger, make sure it's going in a clockwise position. And then I want you to very slowly just bring that circle to opposite your eye level. So now you're taking a slightly different perspective. It's right in front of your eyes now. Now, if you look very closely at your finger, how many of you can see a steady line? Just put your other hand up in the air if you can see a steady line appearing in front of your face. And then I want you to bring that circle down so that you're actually looking down on your finger. Which direction is your circle going? Is it now going clockwise or is it going anti-clockwise? Yeah, I can see lots of you nodding. It's going anti-clockwise. So you can stop waving your finger now. Isn't that fascinating? So depending on from what angle or how you're perceiving that finger, whether it's up high, whether it's right in front of your eyes, or whether you're hovering over the top of it, it completely changes everything, doesn't it? Completely changes our perception. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is for two reasons. One, you can actually think about this for yourself, but you can also think about this for your clients, is what perception or from what angle are we looking at things? Because actually the way that you look at things is going to have an impact on your clients. You know, it's human nature. It's just the way that you're built. But also if you are feeling maybe anxious about something or worried about something or stressful about something, think about drawing that circle. Maybe not in your office with your colleagues, they might think you're a bit nuts, but think about in your mind, could you take a different angle on it? Could you look at it from a different perception, different angle? And actually one of the little exercises I just wanted you to think about is that often when we operate either from a place of cause or a place of effects. And most of us operate from a place of effects. So this is like the least empowering position to operate from a human behavior perspective. But it's most people's defaults. So, you know, when you hear your clients say things like, oh, I knew that was going to happen, or somebody else did that to me, that was their fault, and they don't take necessary responsibility for their own actions. That's because they're operating from the effect side. So think about how could they shift that perception, maybe just by taking a different responsibility with money. And we want to help them to move more to that cause side, because the cause side is where we hold personal power. It's where we make better informed decisions. It's where you kind of feel very much in charge, but it's about your client being in charge, not you being in charge of your client. So I just thought I'd share that little exercise with you this morning. So next time you're feeling like I need to get a different perspective on something, think about that circle. And think about how you could impact your clients to move from being in a state of effect to a place of cause. And if you want to know more about how we can do that, come into my financial coaching program. Wow. Thank you very much.
That's a bit, I don't know if you saw my face when we did that, but I was like, I've been watching too much Black Mirror, but that was like some weird stuff happening right there. That was a
bit Matrixy, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of scared me a little bit. So tomorrow, guys, we've got the usual phone-in slot with Adam Carolan and Rohan Sivajoti. And tomorrow, they'll be looking at how to launch a podcast with guests Sharon Sutton and Chris Broom. And then, Catherine, what have we got on Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday we've got an interview with the CISI, Head of Financial Planning, Jackie Lockie. Yeah, that's what we've got coming on Thursday. So have a wicked day, guys. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you all in the morning.
Thanks, guys.